Hi, Christiane Yates here with Platinum Real Estate Professionals, continuing our segment on frequently asked questions of first-time homebuyers. So you're writing that offer and you get all excited, you found this house that you just love, and all of a sudden the fear steps in and it's like, what if? Well, your contract is going to have a number of contingencies in that contract to cover the what ifs. So that's going to be a list of items that you should see in any given contract that you're writing on a property. Number one is going to be a property inspection. First step is you want to have a property inspection to make sure the property is currently in a condition that is acceptable to you. Now, you can have a property inspection done and let's say the property needs a new roof. That's pretty costly. Is that something that you're prepared to move forward and replace the roof as soon as you move in? Or maybe the inspector tells you it's going to be another year, whatever it may be. Is it something that you're prepared to take on as a buyer? It may be, it may not. Now, just to give you an example, everything doesn't have to be as severe as a new roof. You can actually cancel a contract even for a leaky faucet. Now, you won't likely want to cancel a contract based on a leaky faucet, but I give that example to let you know that it's a matter of what the property condition is and whether or not it's acceptable to you. Now, let's say if it's not, that roof needs to be repaired. You can ask the seller to repair it. You can ask them to replace it. It's just a matter of what you negotiate and both parties agree to that is acceptable terms. Now, if you cannot come to an agreement, then you can have the right to back out of the contract and request your earnest money to come back to you. Now, something that comes up often is we have sellers that will say, right on the contract, right when you first write it, property is being sold in as-is condition. That does not mean don't get a property inspection. You still should have your contingency of a property inspection in there. Because as is doesn't mean, hey, don't investigate it all. It means that you have to accept the current conditions is what the seller has asked for you to do. So you always still want to have that property inspection done. It's not a requirement, but it's something that we would never recommend selling a property without going through a home inspection so you know exactly what's going on with the property and just be the most informed as possible. So that's one contingency. Another contingency is going to be your lender obtaining an appraisal. Now, again, we'll go back to that $300,000 sales price. Let's say comps look like $300,000 sales price, looks about right. You write the offer for that price. All of a sudden, appraisal comes back and says, nope, sorry, I'm only giving it a value of $295,000. Now, you have the right to go back to the seller and renegotiate the sales price based on the appraised value. But the seller does not have to agree to that sales price. It's something that you have to go back and forth and negotiate and figure out what is reasonable terms for both you and the seller to accept and move on. Now, let's say if the seller says, no, I'm not taking anything less than the $300,000, and if you want it, you continue your offer at $300,000. Well, because your loan is based on the value and your sales price has to match that value, let's say in your loan program is so much down based on that. Well, your lender is going to lend you the money as if the sales price was $295,000. That's the value that they're going to be using. And then anything in surplus of that, so if you had a $300,000 sales price, you're going to have to come out of pocket that additional $5,000 at the time of closing. So it might be something that you're willing to do. It might be something that you're not able to do. It just really, again, all of this is depending on what is best in your case, what you feel comfortable with. It happens sometimes. Buyers will come in the additional money out of pocket. Sometimes they look at it and figure, that they have the money. They feel like the value is there. They don't want to lose the house. And there's other times you're going to back out because you don't want to continue on. Now, in the event that you back out, again, you cancel the contract and you request your earnest money back. So in a previous segment of this, we talked about a $300,000 sales price and a $5,000 earnest money. You're going to get that $5,000 back. An important thing to point out, if you pay third-party vendors like an inspection, and inspection reveals some things that are not convenient to you, you want to cancel the contract, you don't get the money back from the inspection that you paid that third party. The same goes with the appraisal. You're not going to get that money back, but you are able to request your earnest money to come back. And that's going to be where the bigger figure is too. Another contingency is your loan approval. So a lot of us, when we go through and you have loan approval and it's maybe a pre-approval or a pre-qualification, there's things that can change and all of a sudden become more apparent when we're going through the whole underwriting process for the final underwriting once you're under contract. And some of those things might be, maybe your income has changed from the time that you made the offer or you started out your pre-qualification process or pre-approval process, and maybe now you're not making quite enough money to make that work. Maybe something has all of a sudden showed up, a lien or a judgment in your name, and you're not able to go forward with it. There's different scenarios that can come up, and by all means, if your loan officer is not telling you this and your realtor is not telling you this, by all means, do not go and obtain any other credit at the time that you're waiting for your underwriting to be complete. Do not obtain any other credit. Don't change it. Don't buy a new car. Don't buy furniture. If they just had a holiday sale and that washer and dryer you wanted for the new property is on sale, don't buy it on credit. Don't change those things. You don't know when something is going to change your score. It could change your debt to income ratio, and it can blow the whole thing out of the water. And you don't want to see that happen after you're putting money up front that you can't obtain back, like your inspections and your appraisal, or just be heartbroken because you were set on buying this property and now you can't because you've changed some items on your credit. But regardless, if it was something that you did and you made that mistake, or something changed in your employment, what have you, or something came up out of nowhere you weren't prepared for, you do have the right to back out based on whatever your terms are in your contract. So each of these contingencies are going to have a day that they expire. A lot of times in our contracts, we'll write for maybe the property inspection, usually about 10 days to get the property inspected and come back to the seller and let them know it's acceptable or this is not acceptable. Appraisal, we usually try to give a little bit more time because we want the appraiser to have time to get out there, get it to the lender, and then it comes to you. So it passes a few hands before it comes around. And so we'll typically do anywhere from 14, sometimes as much as 21 days for an appraisal contingency. Now, your loan approval contingency should extend a little further out than your appraisal contingency, because the appraisal coming in is part of your final underwriting reviewing of your loan to make sure that you're qualified, because it's not just your situation that has to qualify, it's also the property. Not just for the value, but every once in a while we'll see things like straps on a water heater need to be installed in order for you to move forward. Simple things sometimes, but again, we just want to make sure all those pieces are in place. So loan approval contingency, in our case, we usually write anywhere from 21 to 25 days, somewhere right around there. And a lot of that is also going to be based on our close of escrow date. In our area, we typically have about a 30 to a 45-day escrow period, 30-day being most common. So another item that comes up as a contingency, if the property is in a homeowners association, one of the contingencies is going to be for you to review the homeowner association rules and bylaws and their operating budget. Now, let's say you like to work on cars on the weekend, and maybe that's your side job. Maybe it's just your hobby, but you're out there tooling around and working on cars all weekend. Well, you read those homeowner association documents and it says no working on cars is allowed, and it happens. There's times where things like that are a problem. We've had it where one of our clients owned a cable repair company. He was not allowed to park his vehicle, and it was just a small van, but because it had the name of his company on the van, he wasn't allowed to park that van in the community. So that became an issue. So you can see where there are certain things you want to be looking for, and you just want to make sure that wherever you're moving, the house that you're purchasing, everything is going to fall in line with what your needs and wants are. And as long as it is, great, continue on. But if it's not, don't worry so much about those what ifs. There are contingencies for you to be able to remove yourself from that contract and request your earnest money back. Now, another thing in Homeowners Association documents that I mentioned is their budget. Okay, let's go through the budget. You definitely want to look at that. You might be going into a homeowners association that maybe they haven't been managing their money so much. Maybe you're seeing what they're anticipating for expenses. They don't have enough money in their reserves to pay for that. Well, guess what's likely to happen? They're probably going to start increasing the homeowners association dues. And is that something, if they do increase the homeowners association dues, is that something that's going to fit within your budget? So certain things you need to look at. But again, there's so many things to learn about when you're buying a house and to look out for. That's why it's important that you have a good relationship with your realtor, you have good trust in your realtor, your loan officer, everybody that you're working with. And as always, if you have questions, as long as you're not already working with a realtor, I'll be happy to ask. If you are working with a realtor, those questions absolutely need to be directed to them and their loan officer that you're working with. And I'm hoping that this is all clearing up some of those questions and fears of buying a new home and starting out your future. It's a great investment. It's a great step to take. It's a scary one, but it's a super exciting one too, and definitely something that's worthwhile. So hope that, again, answers all the questions that you're having, and bye for now. Thank you for watching.